Right, everybody. Well, welcome back to Man Without a Title, episode number 7. It's called Everybody Thought I Was Fine. Um, Before I get into this episode here, I wanted to say something. All the people that are commenting and sharing and liking and supporting um, my journey here, I just want to say thank you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Um, Keep it going. I appreciate everything. And I just want to get my story out there. So, back to episode 7. I'm going to talk a little bit this episode here about me. Um, the stuff that I dealt with, the stuff that I didn't do. But if you, anyone who knows me, they will tell you that they thought I was a good guy, that I was outgoing, funny, easy to talk to. Always had friends, around me, family, all the time. I was the kid everyone seemed to like, the guy who could talk to anybody, uh, the guy who always found his way into the center of the room, the center of attention, right? I was the one making everyone laugh, like telling jokes, being the funny guy, making myself look like I had it all together. Because on the outside, that's what I was trying to show. I was trying to make a show of, right? But on the inside, things couldn't be further from the truth by a long shot. But because I was dealing with my imperfections on the outside, that I couldn't hide them. Okay, they were clearly visible, and if you even see me walking through the mall, you could see I had disabilities. So I created this persona, this mask, to cover up my imperfections, right? Which is the funny guy. Um, But what I was really doing, right, I was using that persona to hide how I felt inside more than how I felt about myself on the outside, right? And it was, I thought it was hidden very well. And for those of you who know me or have been watching this podcast, you already know a little bit about my birth and whatnot. But for the first time listeners, I'll give you a quick backstory. Um, I was born premature, very um, very bad birth. I was I came out inside out, meaning my intestines were on the outside. I was missing fingers from my left hand. I was missing my right foot. I had upper lower cleft palate. My tongue wasn't there. Um, I was in bad shape, and I couldn't imagine being in my parents' shoes. But for most of the people, the doctors, the parents, my family, from the very beginning, um, from the beginning of my life, I'm sure what was going on didn't make sense to them on paper. Like what is going on? Why did this kid come out like this? Um, doctors couldn't make sense of it. Yeah, it could be this, it could be this, but nobody knew. But the doctors told my dad and my mom and stuff that if I would survive, which they only gave me a 10% chance to live, but if I did, I would never walk, I would never talk, I would never be normal. And I'm sure quietly, my dad, my family was all kind of wondering how far would I actually be able to go in life. In the back of their head, I know that was a thought that haunted them. But through Christ, through my that same family, they never felt sorry for me. They never let me feel sorry for myself, and they always pushed me. And so there was me. I grew up. I kept overcoming. I never seen my handicap as a weakness, so I used them as a tool, right? And so growing up, I did everything all the other kids in the neighborhood would do, right? and sometimes I did it better. My father conditioned me from a young age, and my cousins, my uncle, they all conditioned me to to think I was normal, that I was a capable kid, capable of anything I wanted. So I took that and ran with it, right? So through school, I played sports, played football, softball, basketball, volleyball, um, golf. I even ran track, matter of fact. And there wasn't nothing I really wouldn't try. And most of them I excelled at. I did pretty good. I did very well, and I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I did well because I learned how to adapt. I pushed. I learned how to push. I learned how to perform, and the world they rewarded that. People clapped whenever I made a basket. I ran down and my leg fell off on the middle of a fast break, and I went back, grabbed my leg, grabbed the ball, ran down, and made the basket. Woo! They celebrated the resilience. And they admired my strength. I for a long time I painted water towers. 150, 160 feet in the air. I climb up and down them. I sandblast. I paint. Um, there wasn't much I wouldn't do. Um, and growing up, I conditioned, like I said, myself to never let myself off the easy way. Okay, so if I didn't know it, I figured it out. But figuring it out isn't always a good thing. So the reason I'm good at a lot of stuff, I can work on cars, I can build you a deck, I can wire in an outlet, I can hang a fan, I could paint a water tower. Because I always, if I didn't know, I figured it out. I could never let myself tell somebody, I don't know. I would tell them I tell them, yes, I knew. I didn't know. So I would figure it out. And I would do it. Right? But I learned something early. If I look strong enough on the outside and put together enough on the outside, that no one would ask what's going on the inside. Right? And from the outside, I worked hard to make it look like I was all together. I smiled, I joked, I talked my way in and out of rooms, conversations, be a funny guy. Everyone liked to be around me. I had to wear the nice clothes, I had to drive the nice trucks, I had to look like I was it. I had it all. But I didn't. I was dying inside. On the outside, I looked like a happy kid, happy guy. On the inside, I was miserable. I learned how to wear a version of myself that made people comfortable enough to not want to dig any deeper, right? But not to deceive them, right? It wasn't for deception. I didn't know how to be honest, right? And I was scared to be honest about myself. So I convinced myself I'm not that bad. I only drink a little bit. I only get a little bit of coke. Who am I really hurting? Everyone said that. I'm not doing anything bad. I never shot anybody. I never killed anybody. I'm not doing heroin, right? But the truth is, I was unhappy. I was empty. And all them things that I was trying to do, I was just trying to fill the emptiness. But the whole time, I was being protected by the grace of God. And I didn't see it then, right? I thought it was me. I thought I was good enough. I was the one who was doing it. Everything was because of me. I was hiding, masking my emotions, my insecurities, my need for absolute attention, my need for acceptance, and to cover up a lot of pain that I was hiding. A pain that everyone deals with. And if there's someone out there watching, you're not alone. The fear, the insecurities, the anger, the confusion, all that, the uncertainty. it's, you're not alone. Because I may have survived my birth physically, and my life is okay physically, but emotionally I was lost. Internally I was dead. And as most of you, I know you've heard them, but I have a few phrases that I live by. I figure it out. It is what it is. Or, I'm good. How you doing? I'm good. Good. Everything's good. They sound harmless, very harmless little phrases. They even felt a little warm and cozy inside, you know? But all it was an escape route for me. There were ways for me to shift it, avoid it, and ways for me not to have to face it. Whatever the problem, whatever was going on. Every issue I didn't want to confront or I didn't want to deal with, I put it in a box. Okay? And I tape it shut real good and I shove it down, right? Inside me. Just hold it there. And I just kept it pushing, kept it moving, right? Because it's what I've always done. Just everything's gonna be fine. Put in a box, hide it, and go. Survive, adapt, and perform. Survive, adapt, and perform. Unhealthy. But see, the boxes don't disappear. They keep piling up. And we all know what happens after so long, right? That pile becomes too big. And what happens? Boom! Falls over. So when I thought I had everybody fooled, I didn't at all. I thought people only saw the strong me, the confident me, the good guy, the overcomer, the had it all together. But I was naive because the truth was most people saw right through it. They saw the distance, they saw the just massive inconsistencies in my life, the pure exhaustion of myself, and I wasn't hiding it as good as I thought I was hiding it. But eventually I came to a point to where I reached it. My breaking point. Not because life got harder, per se, but for me, I think it's more because the pretending got heavier. And I was on the edge, really, not too long ago, to lose everything. And then you saw everything. And I mean, my life, my family, my relationships, um, everything I own. I mean, I pretty much there. He pretty much stripped me down to a fresh canvas, and now he's using me. And the first time in my life, I could sit here and I could honestly, my personality, I finally realized it can't save me. And that was a hard pill to swallow for me now. Because, what? My toughness couldn't save me? Ah, I'm resilient. Mm, not going to save you this time either. I had nowhere else to do, nothing else to do, so what did I do? I had to give it to Christ, give it to God. Had to break my flesh, had to cut it off. And not in a polished way, like, ooh, I'm better than you, or a rehearsed way, but a very honest way. I had to stop performing. I had to stop explaining, and I had to finally say, God, I need you to fix this. And for once, again, I could figure it out. I could always figure it out. This time I couldn't. And see, the thing is I've heard the knock. I've heard the calling. I've heard his voice, and I know different times in my life there was things that he wanted me to do, and I didn't do, and I didn't listen. But like I said, you know, for the first time, I wasn't trying to be strong anymore. I was finally being real, right? And that was hard. That was a big step because everything that I built was fake. But God didn't just it didn't just happen overnight, right? It didn't just everything was fixed, right? No. And I'm thankful for that now. But at first I was very frustrated. Like, why isn't anything happening? You know, why isn't my podcast taking off? Why am this or that? But then God will never advance you beyond your last act of disobedience. Okay? So you think because you did something and you obeyed him, okay, great. But then you don't want to do this thing because, it might be embarrassing. So I was praying for more, but God was still waiting on me to be obedient to his last instructions. But we want to pick and choose and do what we want to do. God, I don't want to do that. That's too hard. That's embarrassing. People are going to make fun of me. I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to tell about my life. I don't want people to know the things I've done. Okay. He says, you don't do what I asked you to do, and I can't help you. You don't want to be obedient. Why should I be obedient to you? So we do something else. And then we wonder why nothing's happening, right? And I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. It's not how you should learn, right? And that's not how it works for him. But we serve, a loving God. He couldn't do that to us. Ugh, man, how narcissistic are we to think that he owes us something? No. But healing from all that isn't magic, right? People think it's just snap of a finger, everything's gonna be fine. No, it's a process. Change happens little by little, okay? In many forms, discipline, God's word, keeping accountability of yourself, of your actions, of what you are trying to do, right? And facing things instead of boxing them up and putting them away. Because by doing that, all you're doing is you're just putting off something that has to be dealt with. And we aren't going to do it. It ain't going to fix itself. We have to give it to him. If we don't, it's going to be like a sword. And it's just going to keep getting worse and keep getting worse. But I was hearing that in church for years from pastors, but I wasn't doing it, right? But it looked like I was on the outside. But see, then I had to recognize the problem, and I had to name each one of them. And then I had to deal with them one by one instead of pretending like they weren't there. And through that whole process that I'm still going through right now, I've learned something very powerful. You could overcome physically anything and still be broken spiritually. You can inspire the world, but be empty in your own heart. You can look whole from the outside, but divided inside. And God knew exactly what I was going through, and nothing about my life was unknown to him. My survival, a way for me to give him what I have and then let him work through me, in me, to deal with it. And it doesn't make me perfect. I'm not just going to be all of a sudden the perfect guy. I'm not going to be, you know, um, reading God's word and then all of a sudden, I'm just going to change and he made me honest. He made me disciplined and all that. No, you know, discipline didn't make my life easier. It just made it real. And by doing that, that gives me an important sense of accountability, right? And I had to stop pretending, right? Little by little, uh, things will change. I'll change, but not by performing better, but by being truthful sooner. I had to stop using them phrases. I figured it out and start saying I need God. Stop saying it is what it is. Instead, I say, well, this has to change. Here's the truth of it, guys. That fake persona that I built kept me liked, um, but it almost cost me everything. Um, and I would almost say it did. Strip me down to nothing. And if you're listening to this and you think everything is fine, but you're exhausted inside, and you don't know where to do, what to do, and all that, you're not alone. And you don't have to perform anymore. There's a very comforting verse in the Bible, Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. I don't do it for the applause. Don't do it for the recognition. This isn't about an image. For me, this is about getting my integrity back. It's about letting my inside match my outside. And that's very important to me. I'm still growing, still learning. I'm still disciplining myself daily. But thank God, I'm done having to pretend and act like everything's gonna be okay. This is Man Without a Title. And I thank everybody for watching. Um, See you next time. And again, please like, share, comment, and keep this podcast alive and going, and get it out there to as many people as you can. My whole goal here is to help someone who's dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with. So God bless you. Thank you. Have a good night.